Morning. As Rachel said, Daniel Oertli from Roomz. I'm the CEO and co-founder, and looking forward to telling you a little bit about our disruptive startup that's hopefully going to change the future of residential living. For the last 3 or 4 years, as a key member of the Real Estate.com AU team, I used to look at lots of maps of these sorts of things, scaled out, zoomed in, whatsoever. About 1 million of these homes are listed on realestate.com that do every year. But then a couple of years ago, I started looking at these maps very differently. There was a little startup called Airbnb, some of you may have heard of it, which is completely transforming the way people are starting to use their unused space for short-term travellers. And then a short time after I sort of really started to get fascinated with the Airbnb model, I attended a speech by Elon Musk where he said, always take a deterministic view of the future and think about how key big problems that people have might change dramatically over the next 10 years. And if you can really anticipate that well and build for that future, that's the way to actually redefine a market. So it was a pretty ambitious statement, and I'm sure he didn't talk about the 1 in a million that actually failed doing these things, but it was enough to get me and my co-founder to start looking inside these houses a little bit more deeply about what might the future of residential living look like. A couple of interesting stats. Of the 8 million private homes in Australia, 79% have 1 or more spare bedrooms. The ABS did a study that shows that Australia now has the largest homes in the world being built and the most underutilised, with an average of 2.6 people inside each home. Incredible. But what's more interesting is when you start to go inside these homes and you look at the basic makeup of the houses that are shared today. About 4% of those 8 million homes are actually shared homes, not by family, people that don't know each other. If you go deeper, you think they're probably co-tenants sharing a house, but if you look at the stats, often it's actually not all co-tenants. Often someone's left or a tenant's decided to rent one of their spare rooms out, and that person coming in is often a lodger. Now here's where the difference is between co-tenancy. The tenant has responsibility. They're on the lease. They're up for the big bucks if something goes wrong. Their responsibility is to the landlord. They've got to pay the rent regardless of the other rooms. The lodger has none of those responsibilities, but often has pretty much the same rate as the tenant. They're just cost sharing typically their home today for their unused space to make ends meet. We think that there's not enough formality for the lodger, who can be tossed out without any terms. And there's not enough safety even for the tenant, where the lodger can leave, it's paid in cash, and if some damages occur, they're responsible to the landlord for their bond, but the tenant can often walk away scot-free. So how can we help both the tenant rent their rooms easily in a much more trusted fashion, and the lodger who doesn't want to go on the lease, but wants to have a more formalised licence to live there in a way that keeps their money safe and their agreement to those premises more secure? So that's really that's the problem that we're addressing. Today, there's about 30 million people in the 10 tier markets that actually share. We're focused at the moment in Australia, but our vision is certainly to take this model to the world. If you want to go as a tenant and find a spare room today, you're up against Craigslist or Gumtree in Australia and the UK. You don't have anything. You really, at the end of the day, you're trying to not just rent out the room, but you're trying to connect with someone who you want to live with. It's a very personal experience sharing your space. But you're really just confronted with lots of listings, lots of phone calls interested in your listings, and setting up a lot of blind dates basically to interview. You have no idea who you're actually meeting. We've set it out, obviously, to make that slick and easy. There's 3 key moments that we want to make easy. We don't just want to make it easy to find the right person by exposing and connecting the right people, put those data mechanics into that matching process. We want to formalise the offer in a way that gives lodgers a formal right that's not unlike a tenancy, but in a way that actually keeps their money safe, their security advance, security deposit, which we hold throughout, and a licence with minimum terms of leaving. And we also want to make the rent easy. And today, what the Roomz marketplace looks like is a whole lot of properties, together with the people that are actually living there. You can really get a sense of not just the property, but again, the person who's actually living there, and make some good decisions about who to interview with and meet. The person who's listing the room can actually go through data mechanics and shortlist and nullify anyone who they don't want to meet with, quickly getting down to 2 parties that both are interested in the property and each other, so they can organise an interview very, very easily. Once we get the parties together, we make it incredibly easy to set up their legal agreement and start to take rent automatically via credit card, directly getting deposited into the host's bank account every single week. Everything's tracked, everything's easy, and when it's time to end the agreement, either party can give notice online. If there's a minimum notice period that's not enforced, we actually take it out of the security deposit that we've held in escrow and make sure both parties are whole. It's trusted, it's easy, and it makes the whole thing legitimate. We're already changing the way people rent their home, and here's some today.